everyone, and welcome back to Cyrus Webb Presents. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. For those joining us on Amazon Live, glad you all could join us for another great broadcast. If you guys are new to us here on Amazon Live, make sure you guys do hit that follow button. You'll see it either here in this corner or down below. You also see the book by our next guest. We're excited to welcome back Pamela Mshana to our broadcast today. You guys know her from this book we had a great conversation about, Girls in Search of Cover Part 1. She has a big surprise for you guys now that part 2 is available for you guys to be able to read. We're going to talk to her not only about the second book, but also what you can expect from the characters. And of course, that you guys know how to stay connected with her. I also want to welcome those tuning in on YouTube, Twitter, as well as on Facebook. Glad you can join us. If you guys have any questions or comments for Pamela, make sure you guys do drop those in the comments. But Pamela, welcome back to the broadcast.
Thank you, Cyrus. I'm so happy to be back with you. I really enjoyed our last interview, and that's why I'm returning, and I'm looking forward to engage again with readers and guests.
Well, I appreciate that. Glad to have you back. So let's start off with how this all began, because from the very first time you and I spoke, of course, the cover kind of gives it away, Pamela, in Girls in Search of Cover Part 1, that there was going to be more to come. How did these stories initially come to you?
Well, actually, it kind of came to me all at once as one story. But that would have been quite a lengthy tale to share.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a natural break, though. I felt it was a natural break, and it was right where we kind of leave the cliffhanger in part 1, where we're not sure what's going to happen with Carmia now that she's going to be in the custody of Mother John. So that's kind of how that happened. It did all kind of come to me all at once. But I have to tell you, since I've written these 2 parts of the book, I keep getting more and more ideas, even about like a prequel.
Oh, wow.
What happened to these older women when they were younger that made them the way they are in these books?
Yeah.
So,
Pamela, it goes back to our first conversation about part 1, Girl in Search of Cover, because what you really show is, for one thing, the generational trauma that can exist for so many that is relatable for individuals in the real world, so
yeah.
to speak, but also how that healing can happen. Why was it important for you to make sure that you not only address the suffering, but also show that healing was something that was possible for the characters?
Well, there are little subtleties throughout the book that is my journey, my emotional journey. I haven't been in the situation, exactly the situations that my characters have been in, but a lot of their emotional journey is mine. And so I have evolved over the course of my life. So I know that healing and better is possible. And I think it's a continuous journey, though, toward better, whatever your area is in life. So obviously, it's important to share that things that may have been difficult for you early in life, you can reach a better place. But then it's like you said, it's that generational aspect too. And I feel like some of the trauma and healing that's happened in my life, I feel like I've done it even for my ancestors who died before me, who maybe never reached a certain level in life in one area or another. And here I am giving expression to that. And then my daughter and other young people in our family continue the journey. So I think it's kind of like a never ending thing, and you just keep going higher and higher. That's the way I see life. So it shows up in my writing.
Got you. And I think too, I love the fact that you talk about being able to include pieces of yourself, even the cover, of the first book. And of course, we're going to get into part 2 here, but even the cover, if people can tell, you can see, of course, again, for one thing, the generational aspect that we talk about here, but
Mhm.
also the idea of differences, how even differences coming together, because I think what you've been able to do so beautifully in the first part of this series, Pamela, is to show that not all of us look alike, but we
Yeah.
all may have our own traumas, right? Based on the
Yeah.
way we look, based on the
Mhm.
way that people see us. We see that in the book, but also the way we see ourselves. What was the introspective part of this like for you, for the characters? It's one thing for them to think about how people treated them and how they saw them, but what was it like for you to kind of explore how they saw themselves?
It's just, everything I've ever written, and I think I have a background in playwriting as well.
Mhm.
When I look at people today, when I look at myself today, I remember my whole story. When I meet people or just engage with people, I'm seeing, I'm thinking to myself, what brought them to the person that I see today? So even when you say, like, on the cover, it represents generations, but the different shades of the women, it represents so much. I agree with you. So being an African American woman, being dark skinned, of course, there's things I've experienced where people may not have considered my version of beautiful as beautiful for American standards or European standards. Um, and I'm definitely, as you know, having read them, I'm playing around with all those issues too. And how does a person work that out? Even wrapped around trauma, um, having the wherewithal or the understanding to believe that you're good enough, even when society is kind of telling you that you're not good enough. And then there's that layer of trauma too. I'm even exploring the trauma that carries over from slavery. So it's that kind of story, and it's a psychological journey. In all of my works, there's a past meeting the present, and there's a movement of time, things like that.
Yeah. Did you feel any pressure coming from the way people gravitated to the first book, Pamela, to getting ready for part two?
I did to some extent, yes. I think that's natural to hope that people enjoy part two as much as they did the first book, whether the books are related, a series or not.
Mhm.
I even experienced when I was younger. You write a play, it does well. You're wondering, is the second one going to be received as well? I think though that the characters, when your characters are strong and you're dealing with issues that people can relate to, I think that's the holding factor. People want to know more. They want to, some people have told me, I love being in the world with these characters. So I think, and then the world that they're in is kind of different. It's a small town and they have an interesting way of doing things. So I think that helped me feel, especially Mother John's character. People, it's a character that people love to hate, and she remains strong in part two. So I
Yeah,
think people can look forward to that.
I was gonna say, yeah, and there's so much that comes up for part two. I want to get into with you, but I want to say first of all, for those who are just tuning in, you're watching Cyrus Webb Presents. We're speaking again with Pamela Mshana today. She's the author of the book that we had a chance to discuss last time, "Girls in Search of Cover" Part One. Pamela, you ready to show them the cover for part two and for us to get into it?
I am. It's this is a cover reveal also. Thank you for doing that. So this is my official cover reveal. Let's go ahead and show them.
And there you have it. There is part two of Girls in Search of Cover, also now available through Amazon.com. And go ahead and show it to you guys there as well. You can go ahead and get both the paperback and the Kindle edition there. So you mentioned Mother John's. I have to tell you, Pamela, you and I haven't talked since we set up this conversation, but I wasn't feeling Mother John's in this book. And
Uh-huh.
I think there's a few issues here for
Mhm.
myself personally, and I'm
Mhm.
I'm glad to be able to have you here to talk about it. First of all,
Okay.
I think I'm curious as the creator, what was it like for you to create a character like Mother John's and to be able to see, because of course there's a story with Mother John's as well, but what was it like for you to kind of create a character like that? Because it kind of goes again into what a lot of people talk about, which is those who sometimes are the hardest on them are not people who don't look like them, it's people who do look like them, and who are can be just as judgmental or uh what's a kind word to use, not as friendly. I'll just say that to them. So what was it
Not as
like to kind of
friendly.
create a character like Mother John's?
Actually creating Mother John's, there's an element of fun to her. I know that she can be at times an uncomfortable character, but at the same time, she's the one that people tell me makes them laugh the most.
Mm.
When you have a well rounded character, They're going to make you laugh. They're going to make you cry. You're going to know what pushes them forward and what they care about. So she has those elements where we see how much she loves her grandsons, how much she roots for her handicapped grandson, and how much she loves her family. So those are redeeming qualities. But she's basically a woman bent out of shape who never dealt with resentment and bitterness from the past. And I think people can relate to that. And she also, she has her demons chasing her, and
Yeah.
she takes it out on other people, and specifically, my Evans family. But then there's a whole history there.
Mhm.
And it's funny because in part one, people were telling me, thank you for letting us see a rounded aspect to her. So they would, I don't know, be touched by her situation as well. There's been a lot of wrongdoing in the
Yeah.
past that they're wrestling with in the present.
Well, Pamela, it goes to the old adage, right? Hurt people hurt people.
Yes.
And I think we saw that in part one. We definitely see it in part two, I think. So for yourself, I mean, it seems like, again, drawing from what you are, what you know, and what you have been able to deal with in your own life, and that is helping individuals with trauma. Was that just a given that this was going to be a part of the continuation of this story? That even though there seemed to be some healing aspects in part one, that there are still some things that people are dealing with in part two.
Yeah, and I kind of think it goes back to something I said early on in our conversation today. I think we're constantly evolving. There's always another level of better that I believe that we should all be trying to get to. And that calls for introspection, that calls for interacting with people in such a way that things that maybe you don't notice about yourself, there's someone who can help you see yourself. But with Mother John's, another reason it's easy for me to put a character like that out there is she's real. She exists. She's in the world. And we need to look at the things that make us smile as well as the things there may be a piece of Mother John's in us. And maybe we need to look at that and say, what do I want to change? Do I want to be bitter or do I want to let things go?
Yeah. I think it's an important conversation. So here you are now in this arena, having the book now out for the world to be able to get. We're going to remind them how they can get it both in paperback as well as a Kindle edition here on Amazon. Pamela, what has this part been like for you? It's one thing to enjoy the writing aspect. What is this part, the marketing aspect? What has that been like for you?
Marketing is an interesting thing to learn, whether you're selling books or selling just about anything.
Yeah.
So I think some people have a natural knack for it. I am on a learning curve. I'm still on that journey. But it's been a fun journey, and that's what keeps me going. I love nothing more than when I'm engaging with readers. That helps me want to keep figuring it out and trying to get it into the hands of those who can benefit from reading it, whether it's a benefit where they might be helped somehow with their own introspection or knowing that better is possible in their lives, or just pure entertainment, the fun of reading it. So it's a daunting task to do the marketing part and the promotion part. And I think I would like to be further along in that process, but I do think that I have people around me, including you, who give me guidance and help me on that journey.
Yeah. Well, you're doing great. You're doing great. Well, I think it also helps to, I will put the onus on individuals like myself too, Pamela. It's up to us to do our part to do you as an author a favor of reading the book,
Mhm.
because that helps us then to be able to talk about it. I think that's what made our first conversation so special, with Girls in Search of Cover. But I also think the other thing you've been able to benefit from, I want to bring social media into this, is that you've been able to build a community. You have the reading room on Facebook. Talk to
Yeah.
us about that, what that's been like for you to build your community there.
Again, I'm still in the process of building that community, but it has been so much fun. I get to have fellow authors come in and we interview each other. I get to share. That's a time where sometimes people will take over. I'm usually the person interviewing other people on my podcast and in the reading room,
Mhm.
but I've had like takeovers where people interview me as the host about the things that I'm doing. And I've been able to talk about an array of different kinds of books, from business to novels to self help. And so that's been fun. And I also get to post things. Some people tell me that they like the positive statements that they find there in the reading room.
Yeah.
So that's been fun. And I want to do more with it, actually. I want to actually do more regular interviews. So that's what we can look forward to that. I wanted to be a fun place to hang out, learn about books to read, learn about my own reading. Another thing that's really great is I've had authors come on where we just talk about the craft. We talk about even our experience as writers, whether it's playwriting, it's different kinds of writing,
Hmm.
poetry, screenwriting. So it's just fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, for a lot of people out there, as we kind of think about this journey that you've been on, we're able to take a journey with the characters, but we also are taking a journey with you.
Mm,
What was it like for you to kind of reflect on, for one thing, the response to book one, Pamela,
mhm.
and things that you wanted to do as you're preparing for the launch now, book two?
Um, you know, it's really, for me, the thing that's different this time is, yes, now I do have feedback from readers that keeps me excited, and even it makes me eager to put part two into their hands, because a lot of people with that cliffhanger, they wanted part two right away. I just enjoy engaging with readers, so I want to find more and more ways to do that. But I also have to say, and I was thinking of this earlier, you have been helpful too. You have your magazine, you've been having such tremendous success. You help promote me in your Conversations Live magazine. I've been in other magazines, The Heat Seeker, and there's people who reach out and support you and help you along the way. And guess what? I do the same thing.
Yeah.
Writers contact me. They want to know, where can I get someone for cover design or whatever. And I think the community that we're in and that we're engaging in, we help one another. I even sponsored some people not too long ago to take a writing course with Kimberly Lawson Roby.
Oh
So I
wow.
think as you kind of give and put things out there, I think God helps things come back to you as well. And you don't know which direction it's going to come from.
Right. That is so true. And it's a great reminder, I think, for all of us as well. I want to talk about for you as far as connections go, because I
Mhm.
think as people read Girls in Search of Cover and get to know the characters and get to know you as an author, are there characters that you find yourself in particular being able to connect with?
Well, Carmia mostly, who's the main character. Again, her psychological journey, her emotional journey, I feel like it's more than 50% of my own. So I connect deeply with her. And you know what? I'm proud of her introspection, because I believe for me to write a character who's doing that type of introspection, it's even showing me. I even learned from my own growth. Or sometimes, it's so weird. You can write something, it comes out of you, and then you look at it and you say, wow, that's the truth that I want to be more intentional around. So I would say Carmia. I also love Ma Evans. She's just a good soul. And Ma Givens, Mother Givens. So a lot of my characters I really enjoy and like, and I think that's part of it. If you enjoy them, it helps you finish the book.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's so true. I think that what you have done though in Girls in Search of Cover, Pamela, and I'm curious if you would agree with this. I'm speaking as a reader now. I think you've helped us to reevaluate what a happy ending looks like. I think
Hmm.
there are so many people who have an idea in their mind what a happy ending is, and their life may not end up being that way, but it still can be better than what it was or what they could have been. Would you agree with that? That these books really do show that everyone's not going to have the white picket fence. They're not going to have the dog in the backyard. They're not going to have both parents at home. But that doesn't mean that they cannot find happiness and peace.
Exactly. I definitely think that element is there because, I mean, you and I know everything doesn't work out for Carmia, and she faces so much even to get to the final, uh, better destination, if you will. Um, but I mean, it's been fought for. I don't know why I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of Color Purple. All my life, I had to fight.
Yeah, right, right.
but um, but yeah, she gets to a better place, and better is really how we each define it,
Yeah,
and being realistic about life. Um, I think sometimes social media and things we see on TV can make us have this glitzy glam version of something, and I think real life. And this is the piece I've made in my own life. I try to go through life where I know struggle is part of it, and then I won't be shocked and I won't be paralyzed when trouble shows up. I think trouble has to be like a parallel line with um, blessing, and we're going to experience both. And so I think I write characters who embody, I think, a lot of my own beliefs. And there's some that don't embody my beliefs, but just characters I've encountered in life. And again, it's not all just, there's a fantasy part. There's a part to these characters that is familiar to us and we may know, but then there's a part where we're just totally making it up.
yeah, for sure, for sure. What about you? How has your idea of a happy ending changed, Pamela?
My idea of a happy ending has changed in the sense I think it's actually related to something I said a little while ago. Being content within, the
Hmm.
peace within, is worth more than anything you can have outside of yourself. So I think sometimes we search for answers outside of ourselves. So I think I arrive at my happy place when I realize, when I have epiphanies like, you know what? You're going to have good times in life, you're going to have bad times. So stop letting the bad times shock you.
Mm,
They don't shock me anymore. I
right.
say, okay, this is part of it. But guess what? There's a lesson in it. I can learn from that trouble. I can learn from that problem. And I can pass wisdom and knowledge to the next generation. So I think it's all perspective. And I think when your perspective about things shifts, um, I think that's better than anything else. I've gone through such difficult times in my life where, man, peace alone was my highest priority.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. And it's something that not everyone has. And that's why it's such a luxury, right? I mean, I think, and that's even your characters can relate to that too.
Mhm,
But I think for me, what this series is about for me as a reader is about
mhm,
finding your place of belonging.
mhm.
And I think it's going to look different again for everyone. And it may not be exactly where you may want to find yourself, but
Right.
knowing who you are and knowing that you matter, I think that's one of the big things that definitely has come across for sure. So, congratulations on bringing that to us. Again, everyone, Pamela Mshana has been our guest. She's the author of the series Girls in Search of Cover Book 2. Part 2 is out now on Amazon. You guys can get it now. Make sure you guys do take advantage of going over to Amazon and getting it for yourself. I'm going to go ahead and show it for you guys again. There
Mhm.
again, you can get the paperback as well as the Kindle edition. For those joining us on the Amazon Live side, we do have it highlighted in the carousel for you guys there. Also, if you have not read part one, it is available as well. You guys can get it also in paperback as Kindle as well. I'll highlight it for you guys on the Amazon side as well. So make sure you guys do pick that up as well. Pamela, excited about seeing what's coming up next for you. So, how can our audience stay connected with you?
Well, you can stay connected with me, but through Instagram, through Facebook, and I have my Dr. Pamela Mshana's reading room on Facebook. You can even go to my website, and you'll even be able to connect with me on podcasts. You can send me notes or emails there. So it's PamelaMshana.com, and you see the spelling on the screen. of my name. It's a unique name, so 9 times out of 10, you will reach me. um, and I'd love to hear from everyone. And I hope you go out and read the book and share the book with friends. One important thing you said last time in my interview, Cyrus, and I heard it again and again that I would like to point out is you said it very well could be called Boys in Search of Cover as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gotten a lot of feedback because of the, I guess, introspection and the psychological journey and
Yeah.
just exploring hurts and how we work them out, and even celebrations and how we experience those. Um, a lot of men have gravitated to it as well. So go out and read the book. I hope you enjoy it.
I know they will, Pamela. Congratulations to you again. Glad we had a chance to catch back up and looking forward to our next chat together.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on.
Glad to do it. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Cyrus Webb Presents. Until next time, I'm Cyrus Webb saying thank you so much for being with us. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Thanks, everybody.